Greetings, my Israelite brothers and sisters, heirs, joint heirs, adopted, grafted, natural, spiritual, however you may come. Just wanted to say hello to everybody and see how everybody's doing. Everything's going well. I know I haven't done the car cam in a minute. I'm just going to fix my camera before I get on the highway. There we go. So, I just hope to find everybody well and doing well. There's a lot going on. Just watching news, there's a lot going on. So just been keeping up with that. How you doing, Kia? How you doing, Brother Philip? Hope everything's well with the both of you all. So we've been doing some very interesting subjects. How you doing, Sister Veronica? We've been doing some very interesting subjects at Bethel. And one of the things that we've been doing is we've been talking about what's going to unfold at the end of prophecy. So let me let you know how I'm making the presentation to the people in our congregation. I'm using the Blue Letter Bible, and I'm using the app. You can go online and use it as well. One thing I like about the Blue Letter Bible is you can put in certain phrases and you can see where those phrases appear throughout the Bible, throughout the scriptures. So that's one of the things that that's one of the ways that I utilize the Blue Letter Bible to study. I don't really get into the commentary of any of those books or applications because I just believe that the scriptures interpret themselves. If you just read in multiple places, you get the full understanding of it. And this is one reason why I like the Blue Letter Bible, because it can take you into multiple places in scriptures where that particular phrase or word exists. And so it's very helpful. I give you an example. Friday night we had a very good lesson, and one of the things I don't study a lot on, one of the subjects is marriage. It's just not something that's came up in my area or in my arena where somebody's asking. So we had a very good time with a caller. The brother called in. Many of the people in the chat room chimed in, provided some very good scriptures, and I think that we were able to provide some direction. I went over the last couple of days, even as late as yesterday, I just put in the word wife in the Blue Letter Bible. And I started from the very beginning, and I read every scripture that was pertaining to the word wife. And I learned a lot. And when I did that, it was awesome. Just to get that. And I was able to cover. So the next time I feel like I'm very well prepared in that to give an answer. Because I don't like giving an answer that's based upon opinion. I just don't. The scriptures speak for itself. Someone said something in the chat room. Sister Veronica says, I'm well, thank you. I'm taking a walk, getting vitamin D and enjoying this day. Yahweh is made through his son. Oh, absolutely. So that's how I use the Blue Letter Bible. So let me tell you what we're going to be doing this Sabbath for our Bible study in the morning. And you might want to try this. It's going to be very interesting, and I think I may embark on it Friday night. I'm not really for certain as of yet, because the call-in show was phenomenal. It was Friday night Bible study. It was the first night that we had a lot of people call in on the 1-800 number, which is what we wanted. We wanted people to call in on the 800 number. And I didn't know that we could take up to, I think we had 5 callers on there at one time. So that was awesome. Incidentally, if you don't know the 800 number, when you chime in every Friday, I always put the 1-800 call-in number, where you can call in toll-free anywhere in the world and be able to get us. Except for if you're on a cell phone, then it's normal charges. How you doing, Wardy P? I hope everything's well with you, my brother. Thank you for coming in. So I'm going to be taking the scriptures from the Blue Letter Bible, and I'm going to be putting in the word sun darken, S-U-N, and the word dark. And I want to go every place in the scripture where those words appear. Now, let me tell you what we're going to find. We're going to find a lot of verses in the book of the prophets that talk about when the moon shall be this and the sun shall be that, and it's talking about in the last day. So what we're going to be doing is reading, and we're going to be taking a information sheet as to what the prophets are talking about pertaining to that day when the heavens shall roll back, the sun shall become darkened, and the moon shall, some passages says, lose its light or whatever, something to that effect. But all of that is talking about when the Messiah is going to be returning. Now, we know in Matthew, the 24th chapter, it says after the tribulation. So we know the tribulation is for 3.5 years. And then it says after the tribulation, the sun should be this and the moon should do this to return. So what we're going to be doing is seeing what the prophets say in relation to that same subject. And what it does, it gives you a very broad perspective of what happens and how the Messiah returns. A lot of people think that is only in the New Testament. That is found in the book of Joel, it's found in the book of Ezekiel, Isaiah, also in the book of Psalms. So we're going to go and show you how to connect those scriptures to show you, one, that they all are talking about the same point in time, being when the Messiah returns. And then second, we're going to learn about what the prophets are saying, being that that's the same point in relation to time when the Messiah returns. We're going to find out what events they are describing that is occurring leading up to that. So when you put it all together, because they all are saying the same thing, they just say it differently, you'll get a very wide spectrum of what is going to happen. Now, a lot of people don't talk about this in the Christendom church because a lot of people, it takes a lot of reading and studying and discipline to sit down and to know how to unfold this. So what a lot of people do is say, well, he told Daniel to close up the book. He told John to close up the book, so it's not meant for us to know. But it is meant for us to know. So now that we know what we're doing and how we're going to go about doing it and how to study it, we're going to dive into that and we're going to unfold it. So it's going to be a beautiful lesson in what we're going to be preparing. And I believe that, I know that we're going to do that on Sabbath morning, but I think that if I can get enough done to unfold it, we're going to present it on Friday night as well. because it's really meant for us to know what the end time is going to be. Now remember, a few weeks ago, I talked about the most authentic book in world history being the Bible. And I showed you how Daniel prophetically knew what nations were going to come into power, one behind the other. We went into the encyclopedia and we in fact showed that to you. Now, if you missed that lesson, go back, look at one of the Friday night dates. I believe it's 2 weeks ago. And we may have put it out there very quickly. And I tried to do it quickly so that you all did not have to sit there while I go through and do the web searching. And I know that can get boring, just sitting there watching somebody else utilize the computer. So I try to have my tabs already done and preset. I'm going to try to do that for this Friday when I just look up that particular verse in the Blue Letter Bible, and I'm going to have them already laid out. The only thing that I endeavor to do is really bring up the Blue Letter Bible, show you when I put in the word and how it just appears throughout the scriptures, and how you can turn around and put those things together. And this is one of the best ways to study. I tell people the best way to study is by subject and by title. That's how I've been taught, and it works. And let me tell you, you'll get a very good understanding when you study that way. So, you know, and then look for everything. Look for everything that you're doing and studying. Look for a scripture, or look for a verse, a book and chapter and verse in the scriptures, meaning Genesis to Malachi first, okay? And always remember this when you're studying. Whatever Peter and the apostles say, and Apostle Paul, they are getting that straight from the scriptures. You have to go find it so you can get a better understanding. But if you just try to read their reference on something that they're referring to and put that in with their conversation, you're going to get thrown off. This is why Peter said, and I always say this in the 3rd chapter, 2 Peter 3rd chapter, he says, all of Paul's letters are hard to be understood, especially to those that are unlearned. So you need to try to find out whatever subject that they are talking about and see where it is in the scripture. And I'll give you an example. Romans, the 11th chapter, and what Paul's talking about being engrafted and all like that, you can read that in Jeremiah, the 11th chapter. I remember it because they both are the 11th chapter. So that's just something that, those are little things that I do to remember it. I give you something else. A lot of people who only read the New Testament, so-called New Testament, from Matthew to Revelations, they always have these, what I call popular phrases in scriptures. One is that you always hear, no weapon formed against me shall prosper. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. But let me tell you, that particular statement was made by Isaiah the prophet. Okay? You can read that in the book of Isaiah. In fact, the Blue Letter Bible is one of those applications that you can just put in no weapon formed. Just put in those words, no weapon formed, and do a search, and it's going to bring it up that it occurred for the very first time by the prophet Isaiah. So you can see how the apostles, everything they state, every letter that they wrote, they are speaking from the scriptures. Okay? So, yes, very good, Ricky. When it says it is written, just Go look for it. Go look for it. Just go look for it. And you'll find that everybody is talking about the scriptures. Thank you very much for that, Ricky. A very good point. Um, and we just have to go and look at it. And then the other thing is, in Luke 22 and Luke 24, the Messiah, after how you doing, Brother Mickey? Um, After the Messiah had resurrected, and he's now dealing with the disciples after his resurrection, in two passages he says, all of the law, all of the scriptures, all of the Psalms, all of the prophets speak concerning me. So it's up to you. I did a lesson called the last error worse than the first. And that was a passage that the scribes and the Pharisees did when they told Pilate, let's go make sure that the grave is secured, because we don't want the last error that we've made to be worse than the first. And the last error is that make sure that his body is not stolen. So they put soldiers around it, but we know the story as to what happened from there. As far as the first error that they did was fulfill what the prophets said was going to happen. For instance, when it says that he would be betrayed by his own familiar friend, you went to one of the disciples. And then when it says, I think Zechariah or one of the other prophets said, it would be for 30 pieces of silver. You gave Judas 30 pieces of silver. When Judas brought the money back, one of the other prophets says that the money would be put in the potter's field. You took the money and put it in the potter's field. So what you meant for bad or evil was really prophetic. In Psalms, not one of his bones will be broken. Exodus, not one of the lamb's bones can be broken. They looked upon me whom they pierced. So basically, you're just fulfilling the scriptures. The fact that he says, I thirst, and you gave him vinegar, you fulfilled the scriptures. So these scholars, once they start to realize, wait a minute, we can't let their body be taken, because if we do, the last error, if we don't put soldiers around it to secure, would be worse than the first, because we're actually fulfilling prophecy. No matter what they did, every time they turned around, they did something, they were fulfilling prophecy. Psalms 22:1 says, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Those are the words that was repeated by the Messiah on the cross. So, on the tree. So when you look at that, the Bible is a very interesting book prophetically, and the way it's been canon to be put together, that if you read it, you can see the connection throughout the scriptures. So that being said, that's what we're going to do Friday night. We're going to find out what's going to be happening at end time, when the Messiah returns. A lot of people don't know what comes first. When is the tribulation? A lot of people don't understand that, and we want you to know. We want you to understand, when will the tribulation be? You need to know. You really need to know when that tribulation is going to happen. What happens after the tribulation? Scriptures tells us. So these are the things we're going to get into. So I just wanted to leave that with you. I don't want to go over 20 minutes on my car cams. I'm at 19 minutes and 15 seconds. Thank all of you all for tuning in. So I just want to say hello to Mickey, Ricky, Wardy P, Brandon Bostic, how you doing? Veronica, to you again. Virtuous woman, how you doing? Tobiah, how you doing? Brother Philip, Kaya, and if there be any others, peace. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll talk soon.